I'd known Olivia for years, and when she called me to ask for help moving, I didn't think twice about it. She was Danny's little sister, and I had been around their family enough to know that helping out wasn't a big deal. Besides, it wasn't like she was asking for a huge favor. It was just a few boxes, maybe some furniture, nothing I couldn't handle. I was sitting on my couch when the phone rang. I looked at the caller ID, Olivia. It was rare for her to reach out to me directly. She and Danny usually handled things together, so I figured this would be something quick. "Hey, Olivia. What's up?" I answered. "Hey, Ryan," she said, her voice a little hesitant. "I know this is kind of last minute, but I was wondering if you could help me with my move this weekend. I've got a ton of stuff, and Danny's out of town, so I don't really have anyone else." It wasn't a huge surprise. Olivia had just gotten a new place and was moving out of her old apartment. I'd been meaning to offer my help, but she beat me to it. "Of course," I replied. "No problem at all. When do you need me?" She gave me the details, a Saturday morning, early enough to beat the heat. It was perfect, really. I liked helping friends, and I figured it would be a nice, straightforward favor. Saturday came, and I pulled up to her apartment around 9 a.m. The place wasn't too far from mine, and I could already see her outside, loading some smaller boxes into the back of her car. She waved when she saw me, looking a little flustered but still smiling. "Hey, thanks for coming," she said, walking over. She looked tired but determined, her blonde hair pulled back in a messy bun. She had always been beautiful, but there was something about her today that caught my attention. Maybe it was the way she was dressed, in a loose t-shirt and shorts, or maybe it was just the fact that we hadn't spent time alone in a while. Whatever it was, I found myself paying more attention to her than usual. "No problem," I said with a grin. "Let's get this over with so you can settle in." We spent the next couple of hours moving boxes and furniture. It wasn't hard work, but it was enough to leave us both sweating by the time we were done. When we finally finished and took a break, I went inside to grab a drink. The place was small but cozy, with a few personal touches scattered around. Pictures, little knickknacks, nothing extravagant, just her. "I really appreciate this, Ryan," Olivia said, handing me a water bottle. "I don't know what I would have done without you." I smiled, but before I could say anything, I noticed something strange out of the corner of my eye. A box, half open on the floor near the couch. Curiosity got the better of me, and I casually walked over, peeking inside. What I saw next stopped me dead in my tracks. It wasn't just clothes or old books like I'd expected. There were several pictures inside, but not just any pictures. There were photos of Olivia and me. My heart raced as I stared at the photos. There were at least 5 or 6, all of them taken at various moments over the past few months. I was in each one, standing next to Olivia, laughing at something silly, or just hanging out. But there was something more to these photos that made my chest tighten. They weren't just casual pictures. They were personal, intimate, even. I quickly closed the box, trying to compose myself. I turned to face Olivia, who had been standing silently in the kitchen, watching me. The look on her face was unreadable. "What's in the box?" I asked, trying to sound casual, though my voice betrayed the tension I was feeling. Olivia's expression softened, and she stepped forward slowly. "Ryan, you're probably wondering why those pictures are in there," she said, her voice quieter than usual. "I wasn't planning on showing you any of this." I swallowed hard, still unsure of what to say. I knew something was off. I had to know what was going on. "Olivia, why do you have these? What does this mean?" She sighed, looking down at her feet. "It's complicated," she admitted. "I've been holding on to those pictures for a while now. I guess part of me just didn't want to let go of the idea of us, of what we could be." My heart skipped a beat. "What we could be," I repeated, the words almost foreign to me. "Olivia, what are you talking about? We've always been friends." "I know," she said, her eyes meeting mine for the first time in what felt like ages. "But the truth is, I've had feelings for you for a long time. Longer than I care to admit. I didn't know how to tell you, so I just kept it all in. I was afraid you wouldn't feel the same." I stood there, frozen, trying to process her words. The reality of what she was saying hit me harder than I expected. Olivia, my best friend's sister, the girl I had always thought of as just that, a friend, was telling me that she had feelings for me. It was all too much to take in at once. "But why now?" I asked, my voice trembling slightly. "Why tell me this now, after all this time?" Olivia's lips trembled, and she looked away. "I don't know. Maybe it's because I can't keep pretending anymore. Maybe I'm just tired of hiding it. You've always been so important to me, Ryan, and I've always wanted more. I just never knew how to say it." I ran a hand through my hair, the words swirling in my mind. I had never considered Olivia in that way before. She was always just Danny's sister to me, someone I'd grown up with, shared laughs with, and had mutual respect for. But now, everything had shifted. I didn't mean to make things awkward, she continued, her voice quiet. But I couldn't keep pretending that I wasn't feeling this way. I had to let you know. I took a deep breath, trying to steady myself. I wasn't sure how to respond. A part of me wanted to just tell her it was too weird, that I couldn't see her that way. But there was also a part of me that couldn't deny the pull I felt. I had never really thought about Olivia romantically, but now that the possibility was on the table, it felt impossible to ignore. I don't know what to say, Olivia, I finally admitted. This is a lot to process. I never thought about you like this. She nodded, her face turning red with embarrassment. I get it, she whispered. I wasn't expecting anything to change. I just wanted to be honest with you. We stood in silence for a moment, neither of us knowing what to say next. The air felt thick, and the weight of the conversation settled heavily between us. Finally, I broke the silence. Olivia, I don't know if I can give you the answer you want, but I need some time to think about all of this. She looked at me, her eyes searching mine for any hint of what I was thinking. I could see the vulnerability in her expression, the hope that maybe, just maybe, I would feel the same. But I couldn't rush into something I wasn't sure about. I understand, she said quietly. Take all the time you need. I'm not going anywhere. With that, she turned and walked toward the kitchen, leaving me standing in the living room, my mind racing. The pictures, the confession, everything about this situation felt like a whirlwind, and I wasn't sure I was ready to face it. But I couldn't deny the fact that Olivia had planted a seed of doubt in my mind, and now I had to decide whether I was going to let it grow. The next few days were a blur of emotions. I couldn't stop thinking about what Olivia had said, what I had seen. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw the photos in that box, the ones that captured moments I'd never really paid attention to before. Had I been blind to what was right in front of me? Or was this something new, something unexpected? I tried to push it all to the back of my mind, but it was harder than I thought. Every time I saw Olivia, the air seemed to crackle with tension. It wasn't just the fact that she'd confessed her feelings for me, it was the fact that I wasn't sure how I felt. I'd always thought of her as Danny's little sister, the girl who had grown up in the shadow of her older brother. I had never considered her in a romantic way. But now, with her confession hanging in the air, everything had changed. I kept myself busy with work, trying to escape the overwhelming thoughts that kept creeping in. But the more I tried to avoid it, the more I realized that I couldn't ignore this. The attraction I felt toward Olivia had always been there, lurking beneath the surface. I had never acted on it, and now, I wasn't sure if it was too late to change everything. One evening, as I was leaving work, I received a text from Olivia. It was simple, just a message asking if I wanted to meet up for coffee the next morning. I had been avoiding her, unsure of what to say, but something about the message made me pause. Maybe it was the hope in her words, or maybe it was just the fact that I wanted to see her and figure things out. I replied, agreeing to meet her the next day. We decided on a small cafe near her place, one that was quiet and comfortable. When I arrived, she was already sitting at a corner table, her hands wrapped around a cup of coffee, her eyes lost in thought. Hey, I said as I walked over to her, my heart beating faster than usual. You look deep in thought. She looked up at me and smiled softly, though there was a hint of nervousness in her eyes. Hey, Ryan, thanks for meeting me. I sat down across from her, the silence between us heavy. Neither of us knew where to start, but I knew we had to talk about what had happened. So, I began, my voice uncertain. About the other night, what you said. Olivia nodded, her fingers tapping nervously on the table. I know it was a lot to drop on you, and I don't expect you to feel the same way. I just needed to be honest with you, Ryan. I didn't want to keep pretending that everything was fine when it wasn't. I took a deep breath, trying to steady my thoughts. I appreciate you being honest with me, Olivia, but it's complicated. I've known you for so long, and now everything feels different. I don't know what to think. She looked down, her face flushing with embarrassment. I get it, she said softly. I never meant to make things awkward between us, but I've had these feelings for so long, and I couldn't keep hiding them anymore. I know this isn't easy. I took a moment to collect my thoughts. There was so much running through my mind, and I wasn't sure what to say. But as I looked at her, I realized how much I valued our friendship, how much she meant to me. I don't want to lose you, Olivia, I said, my voice firm. But I also don't want to rush into something because of a moment of uncertainty. I need time to figure this out. She nodded, her eyes filled with understanding. I'm not asking for you to make a decision right now. I just want you to know how I feel. I want us to be able to talk about this without it ruining everything. I sat back in my chair, feeling the weight of her words settle in. Olivia was right. This wasn't something I could just ignore. I had to figure out if I felt the same way, if this was something that could work. But deep down, I knew that this conversation, no matter how difficult, had been necessary. It was the first step in figuring out what came next. I'll give you the time you need, she said softly, her smile returning. But I hope you'll let me in, Ryan. I don't want to hide anymore. I nodded, unsure of where this would lead but willing to see where it would go. Let's take this one step at a time, Olivia. I'm not sure what the future holds, but I'm willing to find out. As we sat there, the air between us seemed to lighten. It wasn't perfect, and I still didn't have all the answers, but I knew one thing for sure. This was only the beginning of something I couldn't turn away from. The next few days felt like a mix of confusion and clarity. After my conversation with Olivia, everything seemed to slow down. She'd opened up to me in a way I hadn't expected, and now I had to figure out what I wanted. I couldn't pretend like things were the same anymore, and I couldn't deny the spark that had ignited when she admitted her feelings for me. But I wasn't sure if I was ready to explore that. We kept our distance, not talking much, but I couldn't avoid her completely. I saw her at Danny's house one evening, the three of us hanging out as we usually did, but this time, it felt different. Every laugh, every casual glance, felt loaded with unsaid things. I could tell she was still trying to figure out where we stood, just like I was. On the surface, things seemed fine. Danny didn't suspect anything out of the ordinary, and Olivia played the part of the carefree sister perfectly. But I knew that under the surface, things weren't the same between us. That night, after everyone else had left, I found myself at her apartment again. She'd invited me over, saying she wanted to talk. My heart raced as I knocked on the door. I wasn't sure what I was expecting, but the weight of the situation hung heavily in the air. When Olivia opened the door, she gave me a small smile, but her eyes were guarded. She stepped aside, letting me in. The room felt different, more intimate. There were candles lit around the apartment, the soft glow casting shadows on the walls, giving everything a warm, cozy feeling. But I couldn't shake the tension between us. Thanks for coming, she said, her voice soft, almost uncertain. I've been thinking a lot about what we talked about, and I think I need to hear your thoughts. I don't want to keep guessing what you're feeling. I took a deep breath, trying to calm the nerves that had been building all day. I don't want to hurt you, Olivia, I said, my voice steady but quiet. I don't know if I'm ready for this. Everything's changed, and I'm not sure how to process it. She nodded, her face falling slightly. I understand. It's not easy. I'm not asking for an immediate answer, Ryan. I just want to know what's in your heart. I don't want to be in limbo anymore. I looked at her, feeling the weight of her words settle in. I'd always admired Olivia, and she had been such a big part of my life for so long. But now, there was this new layer to our relationship that I wasn't sure how to navigate. I've been thinking about it, too, I admitted. And the truth is, I don't know what I want right now. I don't know if I can just jump into something with you. I value our friendship so much, Olivia, and I don't want to mess that up. Her eyes searched mine, her expression full of understanding. I don't want to lose our friendship, either. But I need to know, Ryan, do you feel the same way? Is there even a chance for us? I stood there, my mind racing. It was one thing to be friends with Olivia, but it was another to see her in this new light. I cared about her deeply, but was that enough? Could I turn the page on our friendship and write a new chapter? I don't know, I said finally, my voice barely above a whisper. I wish I had an easy answer for you, but I don't. I'm not sure where we go from here. She sighed, her shoulders slumping slightly, but her voice remained steady. That's all I needed to hear, Ryan. I'm not asking for an answer tonight, but I need you to know that I'm here, and I'm willing to take things slow if you are. I won't pressure you, but I also don't want to keep pretending I don't care about you. I looked at her, my chest tight with uncertainty. I wasn't sure where this was going or what it would mean for us. But in that moment, I knew one thing for sure. Olivia was a part of my life in a way I couldn't ignore. Whatever came next, I knew I couldn't walk away without exploring what this could be. I'm not going anywhere, Olivia, I said softly, stepping a little closer. I just need time to figure this out. She smiled, a small, hopeful smile, and nodded. I'll give you time. I just needed to know that you weren't shutting me out completely. I stepped forward, and for the first time since this all began, I felt like we were on the same page. The future was uncertain, but for now, we were willing to take this journey together, at our own pace. The days that followed were filled with a strange kind of calm. Olivia and I kept things simple, sticking to what felt familiar, talking, laughing, spending time together, but without any of the weight that had hung between us before. She gave me the space I needed to figure things out, and for the first time in a long while, I started to feel like I could breathe again. But the more I spent time with her, the more I couldn't deny the growing attraction. It was undeniable, something that had always been there. But now, with the possibility of something more between us, it felt harder to ignore. There were moments when our eyes met, and for a split second, I could feel the tension between us, a spark that could set everything ablaze if we weren't careful. One evening, after a long day, Olivia and I decided to take a walk in the park. It was late, the sun had set, and the streets were quieter than usual. We walked side by side, our footsteps echoing in the calm night air. I could feel the weight of her presence beside me, and it was comforting. Yet, there was something I couldn't shake. "I've been thinking," I said, breaking the silence between us. Olivia glanced at me, a soft smile playing at the corners of her lips. "What about? About us?" I admitted, my heart pounding in my chest. "About everything." She nodded slowly, her expression softening. "I know you're still processing everything, and I'm not trying to rush you, Ryan. I want to know that whatever happens, we'll be okay. I don't want to lose you." I stopped walking for a moment, turning to face her. "I don't want to lose you either, Olivia. But I also don't want to make a decision I'm not ready for. I don't want to hurt you by rushing into something that might not be right for us." She reached out, taking my hand in hers. The simple gesture made my heart skip a beat. It was so easy to be with her, but everything else around us felt so complicated. "I get it," she said softly, squeezing my hand. "I'm not asking for everything all at once. I just want to know that we're moving in the right direction, together." I looked into her eyes, seeing the vulnerability there. For the first time, I could see that she was being honest with herself and with me. She wasn't asking me to make a decision right away, but she wanted to know that I wasn't shutting her out. "I care about you, Olivia," I said, my voice quiet but full of emotion. "I've always cared about you, even when I didn't realize it. But this is new, and it's scary. I don't want to mess it up." She smiled softly, a knowing look in her eyes. "I get it. I'm scared too. But I think we can figure this out together, at our own pace." We stood there for a moment, just looking at each other. The world around us felt like it had faded away, leaving just the two of us in that quiet space. I didn't have all the answers, and maybe I never would. But standing there, holding her hand, I realized that I wasn't ready to let go. I wasn't ready to walk away from what could be something beautiful. "I'm willing to try," I said, my heart finally feeling like it was in the right place. "I don't know where this will go, but I'm willing to find out." Her eyes lit up, and a small, relieved smile spread across her face. That's all I needed to hear. We continued our walk, this time with the weight of the uncertainty lifted, just two people navigating something new, unsure of the future, but willing to take the journey together. As we reached the end of the park, I realized that whatever came next, we were in it together. And that was all that mattered. The next few days felt strangely normal, but underneath, everything had shifted. Olivia and I were spending more time together, not just as friends, but as something more, though we hadn't defined it yet. It was strange, walking this new line between what we were and what we could be. Sometimes I would catch her looking at me, her eyes filled with a mix of hope and uncertainty, and I'd wonder if she was thinking the same thing I was. Was this real? Was I really starting to feel something for her beyond friendship? One night, after a quiet dinner together, we ended up back at her apartment, just talking about life, her new place, my work, everything and nothing. It felt comfortable, but the air was still thick with the unspoken things between us. As I sat down on the couch, I felt her eyes on me. She didn't say anything at first, but I could feel the weight of her gaze. "Ryan," she said, her voice hesitant, "can we talk about something?" I looked at her, wondering if she was going to bring up the same topic we danced around for days now. "Of course. What's on your mind?" She hesitated, biting her lip before speaking again. "I've been thinking about what we talked about last time, about taking things slow. And I'm okay with that. I really am. But I think I need to know where your head's at. I can't keep waiting for you to figure it out if I don't know if there's even a chance of us." Her words hit me harder than I expected. It wasn't that I didn't understand where she was coming from, but I wasn't sure how to answer. The truth was, I was figuring things out, but I didn't know what the right answer was yet. I cared about her deeply, but was I ready to take that step? Was I ready to go from best friends to something more? "I'm not trying to pressure you," she continued, her voice barely above a whisper, "but I need to know if you're willing to try, or if this is just a phase for you." I felt a pang in my chest. Olivia was vulnerable in that moment, exposing the fear she had been carrying for who knew how long. I couldn't ignore it. She wasn't just asking about us. She was asking if I was willing to take a risk with her, to be open to something real. "Olivia," I started, but my words got stuck in my throat. I didn't want to hurt her, but I also didn't want to give her false hope. "I care about you. I really do. And I'm trying to figure out what this is. But I'm not going to lie to you. I don't have all the answers right now." She nodded, looking down at her hands, clearly trying to hold it together. "I get it," she said, her voice small. "I'm not asking for you to have it all figured out. I just need to know that you're in this, even if it's uncertain." I stood up and walked over to her, kneeling down in front of her so I could look her in the eyes. I saw the hope there, but also the doubt. I'm in this, Olivia. I just need more time. I don't want to rush into anything if I'm not sure. Her face softened, and she gave me a small smile, though it was tinged with sadness. I can give you that time, Ryan. I just don't want to be stuck in limbo forever. I need to know that we're moving somewhere. I nodded, feeling a mix of relief and guilt. She was right. I wasn't being fair to her if I wasn't fully committed to figuring this out. I'm sorry if I've made you feel like I'm holding back, I said, my voice sincere. It's just that I've never been in this position before, and I don't want to mess things up, but I'm willing to try. For you, for us. She smiled, her eyes brightening. That's all I needed to hear, Ryan. And in that moment, something shifted. It wasn't a perfect solution, and it wasn't a grand declaration of love, but it was a step, a real step forward. I didn't have all the answers, but I was willing to take this journey with her, no matter how uncertain it seemed. As I sat down beside her, I realized that sometimes the best thing you can do is let go of the fear of what's to come and just take the leap. And maybe, just maybe, this leap would be the start of something more than I ever expected. The next few days felt like a strange kind of limbo. Olivia and I had agreed to take things slow, to let whatever was happening between us unfold naturally. But even with that agreement, I couldn't shake the weight of the situation. My feelings for her were growing, and every time I looked at her, I could feel it, that undeniable connection, the attraction that had always been there but was now impossible to ignore. We spent more time together than ever before, but it was different. The lines between friendship and something more were blurring, and I wasn't sure how to navigate it. Every touch, every smile felt heavier than it used to. I'd catch myself lingering a little longer when we said goodbye, or staring a bit too long when she laughed. I couldn't help it. Olivia was no longer just Danny's sister, and I was starting to realize that she was more than just a friend. It was late one evening when things took another turn. We had been out to dinner, talking about life and what we were both hoping for. It was a casual conversation, nothing extraordinary, but there was something about the way she looked at me that made my heart race. She wasn't looking at me like she usually did. There was no mask of friendship, no layer of casualness. Just Olivia, looking at me like maybe, just maybe, she saw the same thing I was beginning to see. When we got back to her apartment, the moment felt charged, and for the first time, I felt the urge to close the distance between us. We stood in the doorway, the silence stretching between us, neither of us moving, both of us unsure. My hand brushed hers accidentally, but it was enough to send a spark through me. She looked at me, her breath shaky. Ryan, I've been wanting to say something, but I don't want to rush anything. I could feel the tension between us, the words hanging in the air. You can say anything, Olivia. She took a deep breath, her eyes searching mine. I know we've been taking it slow, but I don't want to keep pretending that this is just friendship. I can't do it anymore. I feel something for you, something real, and I need to know if you feel the same way. Her words sent a rush of emotions through me. I had been feeling the same way, maybe even longer than I realized, but I hadn't been ready to face it, to admit it to myself. The line between friendship and something more had become too blurry, and now she was standing in front of me, asking the question I had been avoiding. I do, I said quietly, my voice full of emotion. I've been feeling it too, Olivia. But I didn't know if I was ready for it, or if we could make this work. Her eyes softened, and she stepped closer, closing the gap between us. I think we can, she whispered, her voice full of hope. But I need to know if you're ready to take this step with me, to take the risk. I looked at her, feeling the weight of the decision in that moment. The uncertainty that had been clouding my thoughts started to clear. I had been afraid of what would happen if we took this leap. But standing here, looking at Olivia, seeing the sincerity in her eyes, I realized that I was ready. I'm ready, I said, my voice steady. I don't want to be afraid anymore. And then, without another word, we kissed. It wasn't like any kiss I had ever experienced. It wasn't rushed or full of confusion. It was soft, slow, full of emotion. It felt like everything in that moment was exactly as it should be. We pulled away, our foreheads resting against each other, and I realized that this was just the beginning of something I hadn't expected but was ready to embrace. I'm glad we're doing this, she said, her voice barely above a whisper. Me too, I replied, smiling. In that moment, everything changed. It wasn't just about us anymore. It was about taking a risk, about stepping into the unknown, together. And no matter what happened next, I knew I wasn't alone. The next few weeks felt like a whirlwind. Olivia and I had taken that first step, and the world seemed to shift around us. Every moment we spent together felt different, more intense, more real. We were no longer just friends, no longer just Danny's sister and his best friend. We were something more. But as much as I wanted to dive headfirst into this new chapter with her, there was a part of me that still hesitated. The fear I'd felt before wasn't completely gone. The uncertainty of what our relationship meant for the future, for our friendship with Danny, was still lingering in the back of my mind. And even though Olivia and I had talked about it, even though we had agreed to take things slow and see where it went, I couldn't shake the feeling that there was still something unspoken between us. One evening, after a dinner out, we were walking back to her apartment, and the tension in the air was almost palpable. We hadn't talked much during dinner, but the silence wasn't uncomfortable. It was just heavy. There was something we both knew needed to be said, but neither of us was ready to bring it up. As we reached her building, I stopped and turned to her. She looked at me, her eyes searching mine, as if she knew exactly what I was thinking. "Olivia," I began, my voice hesitant. "We've been going through this, and I can't help but wonder, what does this mean? What does it mean for us, for our future? I don't want to lose what we have, but I also don't want to rush into something that could change everything." She stood there, looking at me with understanding, and for a moment, she didn't say anything. She just reached for my hand, squeezing it gently. "Ryan, I've been thinking about that too, and I don't want to rush anything either. But I also know that I don't want to go back to what we were before. I don't want to be just your best friend's sister. I want to be with you. I'm ready for whatever this turns into. But we need to be honest with each other about what we want." Her words hit me like a wave. She was right. We couldn't keep pretending that everything was normal. We had crossed a line, and now we needed to face the reality of what that meant. "I'm ready too," I said, my voice more confident than I felt. "But I'm scared. I'm scared of losing our friendship. Scared of what this could mean for me, for you, for everything." She smiled softly, brushing a strand of hair from her face. "I'm scared too. But we can't let fear control us, Ryan. We have to take the leap together. I know it's risky, but it's worth it." I nodded, feeling a mixture of relief and anxiety. We had both been honest with each other in that moment, and it felt like we had taken a huge step forward. But I knew that the road ahead wouldn't be easy. We still had a lot to figure out. "What about Danny?" I asked, my voice low. Olivia's face softened, and she looked away for a moment before answering. "I don't know. He's always been protective of me, and I'm not sure how he'll feel about us. But I think he'll understand. We'll figure it out together." I wasn't entirely convinced, but I knew we couldn't avoid the conversation with Danny forever. But for the first time, I wasn't as worried about it. I was more focused on what I felt with Olivia, how much I cared for her, how much I wanted this to work. "We'll cross that bridge when we get to it," I said, squeezing her hand back. She smiled, her eyes lighting up. "I'm glad we're in this together." We stood there for a moment, just taking it all in. The uncertainty, the fear, the excitement. It was all part of the journey we were about to take together. And no matter what happened, I knew that, for the first time, I was ready to face it with Olivia by my side. The days that followed felt like a strange balance between excitement and anxiety. Olivia and I were growing closer, our relationship evolving into something deeper, but with every step forward, I couldn't shake the worry that still lingered in the back of my mind. There was always that question of how it would affect our friendship with Danny, how it would change everything we'd built together. I couldn't avoid it forever. That night, after another quiet dinner at Olivia's place, we sat on her couch, sipping wine and talking. Everything was calm, easy, just like it had been the last few days. But the weight of the conversation I knew we needed to have was still hanging in the air. "Ryan," Olivia said softly, her voice breaking the silence, "I've been thinking about what you said the other night, about us. And I think it's time we talk to Danny." The words sent a shock through me. I had been dreading this moment. We had danced around it for weeks, and now it seemed unavoidable. I wasn't ready to have that conversation, not yet, not when I wasn't sure how it would go. "Olivia, are you sure?" I asked, my voice tinged with concern. "I mean, I don't know if I'm ready to have that conversation with him. What if it ruins everything?" She turned to face me, her eyes serious, yet full of compassion. "I get it. I'm scared too. But we can't keep hiding this from him. He's my brother, Ryan. He deserves to know the truth, and I think he'll understand. Eventually." I took a deep breath, trying to steady myself. "But what if he doesn't understand? What if he gets angry? What if this ruins our friendship?" She reached out, placing her hand on mine. "We can't live in fear forever, Ryan. We need to face this together." The thought of telling Danny made my stomach turn. He was my best friend, and I couldn't imagine how he'd react to the fact that his sister and I were no longer just friends, but something more. But I knew Olivia was right. We couldn't keep avoiding it. If we were going to make this work, we had to be honest with him. "I know you're right," I said, squeezing her hand. "But I'm scared, Olivia. I don't want to lose Danny, and I don't want him to hate me." She smiled softly, her eyes filled with reassurance. "He's not going to hate you. He might be surprised, or even mad, but he's your friend. He'll come around, and we'll be there for him." no matter what. I nodded, but the pit in my stomach didn't go away. The truth was, I wasn't sure if I could handle the fallout. What if Danny couldn't accept it? What if he couldn't understand why we had kept this from him? The guilt weighed heavily on me, and I couldn't shake the fear that this could ruin everything. "We'll talk to him tomorrow," Olivia said, her voice steady. "I promise we'll do this together." I wasn't sure if I was ready, but I knew there was no avoiding it. If Olivia and I were going to move forward, if we were going to make this work, we had to face the consequences of our choices. The night before we planned to talk to Danny, I lay awake in bed, staring at the ceiling, my mind racing. I thought about everything Olivia and I had been through, about the bond we shared, and the future we were trying to build. But then I thought about Danny and how much I valued our friendship. I didn't want to lose him over this. I didn't know if our friendship would survive the truth. But no matter how much I feared the outcome, I knew one thing for sure. I couldn't go back. I couldn't pretend like nothing had changed. Olivia and I had already taken that step, and now we had to face whatever came next together. The next morning, I woke up with a heavy heart. Today was the day we'd finally have to face Danny. I couldn't stop thinking about how he would react. Would he be angry? Would he understand? The uncertainty gnawed at me all day, and as I met Olivia for coffee before we went to Danny's place, I can see that she was feeling the same way. "We don't have to do this if you're not ready," I said, trying to calm my nerves. I could tell she was just as anxious as I was. She looked at me, her eyes filled with both fear and determination. "We have to, Ryan. We can't keep running from it. Danny's important to both of us, and we owe him the truth." I nodded, though the weight of her words made me feel even more uncertain. It wasn't just about our relationship anymore. It was about the future of all three of us. It was about our friendship, our connection, and the fear of losing it all because of one conversation. We arrived at Danny's place an hour later, and I could already feel the tension in the air. As we walked in, Danny greeted us with his usual enthusiasm, though I could tell there was something off. He didn't know what was coming, and I could see it in his eyes, the curiosity mixed with a hint of unease. I didn't know if he had a feeling or if he was just picking up on the tension between Olivia and me. We sat down in the living room, and for a few moments, no one said anything. The silence felt heavy, and every minute felt like an eternity. Finally, Olivia spoke up, her voice steady but soft. "Danny, there's something we need to talk to you about," she said, her eyes meeting his. "Something important." Danny frowned, his expression turning serious. "What's going on?" He glanced at me, then back at Olivia. "You guys are acting weird. Did something happen?" Olivia took a deep breath and glanced at me before continuing. "Ryan and I, we're not just friends anymore. We've been seeing each other, and we didn't want to keep it from you. But we know you deserve to know the truth." I could feel my heart pounding in my chest. The words were out, and now there was no turning back. Danny's face froze, his eyes wide in shock. He blinked a few times, as if trying to process what he had just heard. "What?" he asked, his voice a little shaky. "You and Olivia? Like, together?" I nodded slowly, unsure of what to say next. "Yeah, Danny. I know this probably feels like it came out of nowhere, but we've been spending time together, and it just happened. I care about her, and I didn't want to hide it from you anymore." Danny didn't say anything for a long moment. He looked back and forth between us, his mind clearly racing. The silence stretched out, and I could see the hurt and confusion in his eyes. It felt like a punch to the gut. "You're my best friend," Danny finally said, his voice low. "And she's my sister. I don't know what to say right now." I could feel the weight of his words, and the guilt hit me like a ton of bricks. I didn't want to hurt him. I had never wanted to betray our friendship, but I couldn't ignore the feelings I had for Olivia. "Danny, I'm sorry if this hurts you," I said, my voice sincere. "But I don't want to hide it anymore. I care about Olivia, and I hope you can understand that." Danny shook his head, his eyes narrowing slightly. "I don't know, man. This is a lot to take in. You've known her your whole life, and I don't know what you were thinking. But she's my sister, Ryan. I need some time to figure this out." Olivia reached out, placing her hand on Danny's arm. "I get it, Danny. I never wanted to hurt you. This isn't easy for any of us, but we're still the same people. Nothing has changed except, well, you know." Danny looked at her, his expression softening a little. "I know, Liv, but I need time to process all of this. You know I've always had your back. I just don't know how I feel about this." We sat in silence for a few minutes, the tension still thick in the air. I could tell this wasn't going to be a quick fix, but at least the truth was out there, and no matter how it turned out, I knew we would all need time to adjust. "I'm here for both of you," Danny finally said, his voice quieter. "I just need some time, all right?" Olivia and I both nodded, and I felt a small sense of relief. It wasn't an easy conversation, and it wasn't a resolution, but it was a step forward. Whatever came next, I knew we would face it together.